Well, I'm filling up some of my favorite pantry items, which are running a little low. I'm going to be refilling 2 sugar containers, my pie crust mix, my apple pie spice mix, my egg roll in a bowl mix, and my snack box. Let's get started. I have a big sugar container and this little sugar container that I use for my tea. So it's out. I'm going to fill it with the big one, and then I'm going to fill the big one after that with the bag I have in storage. Now, I've always had this problem with, I use this to fill stuff. So I put it on top of here, and it just fits, and I've always had overflow onto the counter. And a few days it occurred to me, if I put a plate under here, I won't have overflow onto the counter. It only took me 3 or 4 years to come to this conclusion. I'd like you to know. So I'm going to start with this first. And I sometimes overfill too, so I got to watch this coming out. It'll come out in a clump, and suddenly I've got a tower of sugar above the edge. Okay, Oh boy, nothing spilled because you're watching. One done. Now it's time to fill my big sugar. I have a 10-pound bag here. It's my last bag of sugar. I'm hoping for some really good deals in November for Thanksgiving, though the jury is still out on good Thanksgiving deals this year because of everything that's going on. So the prices I've seen this month in October have not been so stellar for sugar. So I'm going to put part of this in here, then put the rest back where it was in a secure location. At this point, this fits real well, but I still have had episodes where the sugar has come out so darn fast it's overflowed. We're going to try to avoid that. There we go. All right. Next is my pie crust or galette mix. I've been put in charge of pies for this Thanksgiving, and I've already used one of these containers up doing a practice apple pie. So what I do when I do these mixes, especially if I'm going to be reusing them real quick, is I just take out whatever's in there and then refill it immediately. I don't even rinse them. I know I'm going to be using these in about 3 more weeks. So I put the label here with the dry ingredients which go into the container, and then the wet ingredients I have to add later. So let's get started with that. The recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, so I do a cup of white and a cup of wheat. And I'm going to get these into the container here. This is my cup of white. I just love these big canning funnels. Stuff does go over the edge, but not nearly as much as before. My cup of wheat flour. I keep my flour in the freezer, and I keep a container about this big or maybe a little bigger depending on the season out on the pantry shelf. So this is getting a little low. I'll have to refill up exactly a cup. What do you know? A little scant. Whoops, and went over the side. No big deal. I'll be refilling this next. Let's put that in there. So great to have the plate under here to catch all those extras. Now a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is actually 1/8 a teaspoon, little measurement, so I'm going to do 2 of them. Or you can eyeball it. And after that, 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1 and 2. You can keep this in the jar here. When you take it out to make your pie crust, be sure to put this in the bowl and mix it all up so that the salt, the sugar, the 2 types of flour get well mixed before you add the butter, margarine, or whatever, and the water. And to finish this off, you will need 12 tablespoons of cold butter or margarine, and I would cut it in till you get that pebbly-like look, and then add a 1/2 to 1/3 a cup of ice cold water. And this rolls out really well, and you can freeze it. So that's done. I'm going to put the lid on and put this on the pantry shelf. Before I do my egg roll in a bowl mix here, I wanted to show you something. A friend of mine brought me a bunch of nice vegetables, including this zucchini. I brought it last night and unfortunately dropped the zucchini on the road, and nothing too much happened to it, except when I picked it up, I saw it this morning. It had these strange bite marks on it. If this doesn't show up in the video, I'll insert a photo. I cannot figure out who the heck or what the heck would have bitten this. Just in the middle of the road with these little bite marks. If you have any ideas, let me know. The rest of the zucchini was fine, but I wanted to show him and ask him what those bite marks were, but he hasn't come back yet. I did tell him about it. Very odd. I really like this spice blend. I got it off of YouTube channel called Jan Crayson. She does egg roll in a bowl, and she talked about it, but she didn't get into too many details, so I reverse engineered it. So when I do, when I fry up a lot of cabbage and other things and make my own spring rolls or egg rolls, I use this. I mix it in a couple tablespoons, depending on the amount of cabbage you have. So it starts with, again, I have the recipe on the side. So it starts with 2 tablespoons of sugar. Let's put that in. 1 and 2. And then 2 tablespoons of basil. I have some basil here. No, here it is. I don't have enough here. I have another container. And basil is not the greatest looking right now, but it'll have to do. Oh, here's about 1. Here's about 2. Next, 2 tablespoons of this adobo seasoning. I've heard of adobo. I don't know what it is. I've never actually used it for anything but this, but it does kind of add a flavor, a good flavor to everything, so I'll have to try it on other things. So 2 tablespoons, so we'll get approximately 2 tablespoons, 1 and 2. 2 tablespoons of ground ginger. Just open a new bottle, it smells so good. There's about 1. It's not an exact science, as you can see. Good enough, close enough. There's the second. And finally, a tablespoon of garlic powder. You can see that. And a tablespoon of onion powder. By the time you're done, you have quite a few tablespoons in there. So that's it. You can take a little fork and just mix it up. Shake it up again before you use it, and you're good to go. Finally, I'm going to refresh my apple pie spice. This stuff is delicious. I do not remember where I got the recipe from. It was in my notes, and I hate that. I do like to give credit where credit is due, but it is wonderful. You're going to need cardamom and nutmeg, allspice, cinnamon. All right, let's get started. 2 tablespoons cinnamon. 1, again, eyeballed. 2. 1 tablespoon ground nutmeg. Whoops. Oh, that's about right. 1 teaspoon allspice. I have to get measuring spoons that fit into narrow bottle openings, continual aggravation. So 1 teaspoon and a half, actually 1.5 teaspoons of allspice and 1.5 teaspoons of cardamom. Cardamom really kind of lifts it up. Now it's a really good pop of flavor. So 1.5 teaspoons cardamom, 1. About a half. Now you can mix that up or just shake it up. I use about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons for a 6 to 9 inch pie, apple pie. You'll kind of get a feel for what it is. It's very good. I'll add brown sugar and pour some butter over the top of the apple pie and some turbinado sugar. So it's really delicious. You can make more. I'm going to be making, as I mentioned before, pies this Thanksgiving, so I have some fresh apples and I'll be using this in it. Finally, the snack container. I like to have a container full of snacks that are pre-wrapped because I'm not baking right now. I don't have a full oven. So if they're pre-wrapped, they can last you for a while, and I won't be tempted to eat the whole package up at once. So here's what I have in here right now. I need to replenish. I have a couple of these biscotti from Costco. Here they are. Those are a big commitment. I have a couple of these Belvita, these little, I don't know, blueberry crackers. There's four in a package. I got these at Grocery Outlet. They were, I think, a really good price for a big box of them. And I have a couple of these little Aussie bites. I get a lot of my snacks now from Grocery Outlet. I find that Dollar Tree has gotten expensive, $1.25, and you don't get as much as you used to get. So I did go and get a couple more snacks today at Grocery Outlet, and let's see what I'm going to put in there. These Oreo sleeves were 2 for $1 at Grocery Outlet, so I got 2. I'm gonna stick 1 in there right now. And I got one of my favorite things in the world, which are fig bars, and there's 12 packages in there, so I'm gonna put some of them in there too. Let's open them and see what they look like. I think you could probably sell these independently because they have that type of package. Oh, those kind of nice. Look at this. Those are really nice. So I'll stick about as many as will fit in there, maybe half of them. And then if I get some Halloween candy, after Halloween I might throw some in there too. My leftover snacks I put in another container, another part of the pantry, and then I replenish this. Oh, we did good. We filled up my bulk sugar for the pantry. We filled up my tea sugar, apple pie spice, egg roll spice for cabbage, galette or pie dough mix, and of course the ever important snack container. So thank you so much for keeping me company this cool evening here in late October. I was kind of not looking forward to doing this work here after a day of work that I've already put in, but it went pretty good, and it's always very satisfying when it's done. Thank you so much for watching.